Something that was touched on over the course of the last set was the importance of communication from veteran players like Shannon Shields on the court. Over this whole match, we've seen her going up to referees, going up to coaches, going to her teammates, asking for clarification, explaining what they could have done better and what they did well, no matter the result of the touch. Now, that's the kind of consistent energy that is so crucial for a team to be able to make a comeback, just like Arizona State did in that third set to steal one away from Colorado and get ready to potentially win this match. Back to you guys. Jelly, you had 9 kills and 2 aces, including a big one right at the end there that put you up 23-15. What was clicking for you on the court today? And you guys had a few instances where you had to battle back from a deficit. What were the messages both on the court and on the bench that kind of let you guys continue to grit it out and come back? Last question, with such a lively home crowd behind you, what kind of impact does that atmosphere have on your guys' game?
Lemley having a little bit of trouble with her control. She's leaving a lot of balls below the knees on the Sun Devils batters so far. As long as they don't expand their strike zone too much, they should be set to hopefully work her a little further up in the strike zone and get some balls into the outfield. Yeah, there was absolutely no doubt about that one. And Addie Green was one of the players on the Hokies with 14 home runs last year. She's no stranger to hitting the ball out. And something about Farrington is it's a little bit smaller than a lot of the D1 fields that these teams play on over the course of the year. Center field is only about 210 feet. So there's been a lot of home runs here over the past couple of weekends. And Walsh is a fighter too. She's torn her ACL and her meniscus during her sophomore year of high school, but was able to battle back and now is playing at the Division I level, which is an impressive feat. And talking about that weather, it's just great to be able to start the college softball season at home. Obviously, a lot of teams from up north struggle when they have to be on the road for the first month to 2 months of their regular season, but don't have that same issue in Arizona, and starting last weekend was the beginning of a 22-game homestand here at Farrington.
She does make contact, but fouled on the left field line. I've always felt, obviously I was not a slap hitter. I hit from the right-handed side back when I played. I just feel like that would be so hard running at the ball and shortening up that reaction time while it's coming towards you. Just feels kind of awkward, but the ones who do it and do it well, it can be real effective.
I tried to slap hit a couple of times during my high school career, but it's so difficult too to get that coordination while you're moving. You're so used to having a solid basis when you're swinging.
Takes a pitch upstairs, 3 balls and 2 strikes, and it's another thing that always surprises me is the discipline of being able to judge if it's going to be a ball or a strike as you're running towards it. I feel like I'd just always be in swing mode.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's hard to change your commitment once you start that run, but Lewis doing a great job here against Lemley. Honestly, for Arizona State, not necessarily the outcome that they wanted, but Tanya Wendell talked about after the games last night, and she said that against Virginia Tech, they just wanted to keep their energy up and try and hang in there as best they could, and that this was more of a mental game than anything else. It is in no way a must-win for the Sun Devils, so we'll see how they bounce back in the second game of the day later on. Yeah, and I like the decision to not change the lineup up too much from the last game. I think with such a powerful offensive team, especially with those top 3, there's so much untapped potential. When they weren't able to score last game, I think you can expect them to come out swinging and aggressive in this one here. And it's always so hard to see when you have that kind of mixture of new faces and returning players. It's kind of difficult to check and see if they're able to have chemistry and play together, but so far the Sun Devils have been able to click really well, and pitcher Mac Osborne actually commented on that last weekend. She said that part of the reason she loves playing here so much and feels so confident in her game is that the chemistry of this team and in the dugout and in the locker room is just really, really solid. After that, there was really no stopping the Sun Devils at all, as they were able to just keep getting contact on both Redbirds pitchers. And Yaya Acuna, by the way, had an absolutely fantastic game, both defensively and offensively.
It was an absolutely thrilling win. These Sun Devils just really showed that they have no quit in this game against the number 2 team in the country. It was the kind of showing that makes you proud, that makes you want to do better, that makes you want to continue on that momentum into this game. Come from behind victories are usually pretty good for morale, so we'll see how they play it tonight. Dylan Jackson, to his credit, took advantage of a lot of opportunities that were given to him. There was a lot of net front chaos for the Sun Devils last night, kind of taking advantage of some maybe misplays by the defense in front of Freddie Halleck, but that line really shone. It was without a doubt the top line on the ice for either team last night. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like that went off the skate of Denver defenseman Shai Buiam there. It was a pass across the crease that just never made it through to the back door, and it was a bounce that worked in ASU's favor. The passing was fantastic. It was something that they hadn't been able to set up this whole period at all. They were not able to get any offensive zone time, but here they were really able to cycle the puck, had the Denver defense scrambling in front of the net. They came out of their penalty kill formation. They were able to just squeak one right through. These are the kind of chances that happen when your team is playing well as a whole. ASU has been able to move the puck around, and Denver is not looking like the strong defense that we normally expect to see from them. Lavelle was able to take advantage, capitalize, and it was just a fantastic play all around. ASU did a great job there of keeping their formation. They really clogged up the slot, got their sticks in the way, got their bodies in the way of shots. Didn't have a high volume of opportunities going towards the net, but there was one right there, and when needed, Semtenfelter really made those stops. Takeaways for the period here is that ASU has done a fantastic job with pressuring the top line and top defensive pair of the Pioneers. They haven't, until the end of the period, they weren't able to set anything up because of turnovers at the blue line, sticks in the way, aggressive forechecking. It was just an all-around team effort from everyone off of the Sun Devils bench.
Like you said, it was right after the Dylan Jackson play in the neutral zone where they were looking for a penalty. You said it could turn a game, and so far it has.
Yeah, there was a good period of time at the end of the second after giving up a couple goals in a row where the ASU bench just didn't look like there was a lot of life there. It looked like they just didn't really know what was keeping them in this game. That one moment, all of them were standing up. They were all yelling. The coach was yelling. Everyone was so involved in that one play. It really just, it turned everything around for the Sun Devils. Arizona State was the team with something to prove in this series. Denver was likely going into this thinking it was going to be a lot less competitive than it was, but all credit to the Sun Devils. They were able to really test the goaltender, test the defense, and shut down the offense for a good portion of the series. The Pioneers were just able to pick it up right there at the end and put up that 8-goal spot.
There's been lots of play on the boards, huge amount of physical play here as we take a look at this stop by Murchison that we were talking about earlier as he kind of slid across. It was able to disrupt Mobley from getting a shot off at all on Gibson Homer, but something else to look out for once again is that physical play. We just saw Smullen get taken to the boards by Hennon over by the penalty boxes, so there have been some big hits here, big time hits to start this game. Once again, the Sun Devils have really had the offensive control in this period. They did the same thing last night, as Coach Powers said, but there's been a huge amount of physicality in this game that's been setting the tone on both sides. As we're seeing here on the screen, a lot of big hits that are allowing for pucks to be turned over and, you know, a little bit of extracurriculars after the whistle. I want to kind of go back to what Charlie Shane said in his interview right at the end of the period. He talked about, especially on the power play, how they've had a lot of opportunities, but they just haven't been able to execute and finish the play properly. And I think that last night that was also a big deal, but in front of goaltender Zach Rose for the Vikings. As Coach Powers said, the goaltending last night for the Vikings was so solid. I think that the goals for Arizona State really could have been a lot more than they actually ended up to be. They only scored 4, but from what I saw, they could have probably put up at least 7 or 8 if there had been a different goaltender in net. The enforcer role isn't really something that we see in the NCAA, especially since there aren't fights, but at the same time, there's still credit given to these players who can kind of rattle the other team, get in their heads with some physical play, and that's what Murchison is able to do. Not to mention he's a very skilled hockey player. It's going to be a tough road for the Sun Devils, especially as we talked about a lot last night, as an independent organization as of right now. They're going to have to win a lot of these games down the home stretch. Not sure about the exact math because it changes every year, and it changes depending on, you know, how the other teams in the conferences are doing, but they really, really need to get back in the win column if they want to keep their tournament hopes alive. Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit of a quick whistle there. It looked like the official kind of said, my bad, because he lost sight of the puck. But Homer made an absolutely fabulous save here on
what was developing into a 3-on-1 opportunity right in front of the net as the Sun Devil defense was a little bit slow to get back in their own zone there.
Yeah, they finally gave their fans something to cheer about, a final win for the past couple games. And honestly, this was such a fantastic third period by the Sun Devils on all parts of the puck. As you see some athleticism by goaltender Gibson Homer right in front of the net. You see the physicality there and a big hit by forward Jackson Niedermeyer, who doesn't normally get involved in hits like that. And they were able to rob the Vikings. They were able to put one score up on the Sun Devils, but that was all that they would have as the Sun Devils took the lead once again. And honestly, I loved that as a period.